Ryan Garcia returns to fight Oscar Duarte. And he's back from Golden Boy, and there was some, conflict on what was going to happen there. Was Ryan Garcia going to leave Golden Boy? They had a court thing. I don't even know what the hell happened. That just kind of disappeared, I guess, now. Probably they still need to go to court. They're agreeing on fighting, right? But he's going to make a comeback. He's going to fight Duarte. First fight after fighting Tank Davis. And this fight, I think this fight's going to get more interesting as we go along. I think Ryan Garcia's a star, so I think it's interesting no matter what. I think people are going to pay attention no matter what. But Duarte brings some interesting things to the table. He also brings some things to the table that might highlight what Ryan Garcia does best, and I think that's what people are thinking with this fight. Now, Duarte, he looks apart for sure. He's a stocky guy. He's muscular. He's a come forward fighter. He has some highlight reel knockouts, like everything build up wise. I think people are gonna get interested as they start paying attention to him and seeing what he brings to the table. Now, Duarte's gonna come forward, right? He's a come forward orthodox fighter, and he's real tight here with his guard like this. And what he does is you think, okay, come forward brawler type, but he's not really a brawler, I would say. I mean, he has moments where he does brawl, but he's a little bit more calculated, or he's a little more patient, right, for a brawler. So he's coming forward on you, but he'll stop. If you're right here, right, he's gonna stop right here and stare and be patient about it. And he's gonna wait and then look to get his timing, and then finally he'll get off, right? And he gets off with usually wide shots, right? So he's right? He's gonna get off wide on you. Boom, boom, and then back here. And he stays often in this range. Now, Ryan Garcia, one thing about him is if you stand in front of him too long, he's so fast, right? He's so fast and great power and pretty good timing. So if you stand in front of him, you would have to imagine that's a nightmare. So I think be horrible for Oscar Duarte to stand in front of Ryan Garcia like that. I don't think he can fight in that patient style. I think he needs to be, instead of staying right here, I think he needs to be constantly come forward, really get Ryan Garcia jumping, right? Because the thing about Ryan Garcia is right now he's in change, right, with his trainer, and this is his third trainer. Third, I guess, like, major trainer, right? He trained with his dad, then went to with Canelo's trainer, then went to Goosen, and is now with Derrick James. And Derrick James is trying to get Ryan Garcia to not put everything in his shots, right? To be a little bit more patient, a little bit more flow where he keeps his balance, he doesn't lose himself, and he keeps deep. So if you see Ryan Garcia when he hits the pads now, he's just constantly flowing. He just wants him flowing with shots, moving, not losing himself, right? He doesn't want him to lose himself. But if you're Duarte and you can force him in the first fight with Derrick James, first fight with his new style, to just have to react, you could get him fighting in his old style. And if he's not fighting he starts fighting in his old style, it's not a style that he's been working on. So he's gonna end up in some weird in between of a new style and an old style he's not working on. Now, another thing with Ryan, right? You're trying to get him to just kind of flow with his offense. Now have to put everything in it. Just trust your power's gonna come. Trust that if you just keep landing, guys are gonna fold. Trust that if you don't jump out with your shots, you're gonna have to get out of position, right? You're gonna keep yourself more in position. Now, that's great, and in theory, that makes a lot of sense. But sometimes guys are just special with the stuff that they can do. And even though it's unorthodox, even though it's not something you would train, it's not necessarily something you should take away. And maybe taking that away from Ryan is going to make him less of a fighter. Now you're just going to have a guy who's trying to look like a professional fighter, who's trying to look like an orthodox fighter, trying to look like a textbook fighter, but he doesn't do the things that made him special, right? He doesn't have the giant left hook. He doesn't have all these things that got him here. So he could be a lesser fighter from that. But Duarte really needs to put the pressure on him. He needs to get him to this in-between style. He needs to get him to start reacting. And also, there's not a lot of guys that put pressure on Ryan. Most people get in there and they feel his power. They start going backwards. Now, Duarte can't allow that. Duarte has to make sure that he is imposing the fight to Ryan. He's opposing his forward momentum to Ryan, and he's constantly getting Ryan to react. He's constantly putting something on Ryan. He's constantly working Ryan. If he allows Ryan to push him back, it'll be game over immediately. For most guys, this has happened with Ryan. So he needs to prove that he can take a shot, right? He can take Ryan's shot. He's not afraid to get in exchanges with him, but he's also going to push Ryan back. Now, Ryan, who's going to have, like I said, the more calmer style, he's going to look to place his shots, right, and be more continuous and flowing with the stuff, and not look to get out of position. So when he hits you, he can hit you again, and then he can hit you again, and he's in position to block, and he's in position to attack at all times. So we're going to see how that works with Ryan. Or is it just going to be the same old Ryan, right? No matter what trainer he has, he's just going to go back to that left hook. He's going to go back to all these mistakes that he makes, but all these explosive shots and speed and counters that he has, and the timing, does he go back to that? So it's a lot of things to see here. And there's a lot of things where it could get dangerous for Ryan, but there's also a lot of things where this could really look really great for Ryan, right? The guy's going to stand right there in front of him, come at him, and Ryan's going to be able to land his left hook. I think Ryan Garcia is going to win it. I think that we're going to see really what the potential is with him and Derrick James, right? Derrick James is kind of on the little bit of the downtick right now. That's what happens when you take a lot of meaningful fights, right? And you get a lot of fighters, and everybody now is paying attention to every fight you have, right? Sometimes you can have a star, and then you have 5 other guys who aren't big names, and no one gives a damn if they lose. They just know you're star, right? But when you have about 6 stars, and they're all taking tough fights, and you had Charlo versus Canelo, you had Spence versus Crawford, you have Anthony Joshua not looking his best, you have Frank Martin, and in the type of fight as he's going along, now everybody's paying attention to everything you're doing. So now people are saying, oh, well, look, he's not as effective as he once was. All these things because now you have everyone's a big name. But there's a lot of trainers that you watch that you think, oh, that's one of the best trainers in the world. And he's on a weekend that you're not paying attention, and he has his fighter fighting, and they lose. But they're not stars. So no one gives a damn that they lost. But Derrick James does have this thing on him now where it kind of feels like he's on the downslide. And Ryan Garcia doesn't look good, right? And Ryan Garcia's not looking effective with new Derrick James style. Well, then that's another person who Derrick James couldn't get going. There's a lot of interesting storylines going in here. Ryan Garcia's a star. Oscar Duarte's really going to bring it to him. Never fought at 140, but that's another thing to pay attention to. Never fought at 140 before. Bringing him up. So we don't know how he's going to react to that. Derrick James training him. What's next for Ryan Garcia after that? What's his relationship with Golden Boy? Is he going to fight Rolly Romero after that? Is he going to fight Teofimo Lopez? Is he going to fight Devin Haney Pro Race winner? A lot of interesting storylines going into it. I think Ryan Garcia is going to win. I think he will eventually catch and stop Duarte just because Duarte stops in front of him too long, too patient, going to get caught the left hook on top of his head. But even if it's a one-way traffic for Ryan Garcia, you still need to see how he's going to look, and you need to get excited for what's to the future for him. Now, if Duarte were able to steal this fight, right, and able to get a big win, then you can match up him and Cepeda, and that's a very interesting fight. And that's a fight that I wanted before this was even announced, because I think that's a lot of action. That's definitely a lot of action, and that's definitely a fight that I would think Cepeda would pull out for sure, but definitely going to be entertaining for however long it lasts. This has been the Ezbrawl breakdown for Ryan Garcia versus Oscar Duarte. Deuces.